NexTracker's kind of hard to an extent, right? It's a good system, but it has its hard parts as well. Because once these are fastened, you can't take them off unless you got a grinder. So I hope you guys got grinders, because you're gonna need them at some point. So on the 40-volt gun, this is gonna do your bomb tails and your M12s. Okay. When you're fastening, try to make sure you're holding it correctly. Don't go like this and expect the gun to, you know, center itself on there, because if you do, you're going to start breaking tips, and it's going to be expensive. So just so you guys know, each tip is $370. Don't worry, we'll take it out of your check fee right now. Just kidding. So they do get costly, right? We want to try to eliminate a lot of that cost. Hence the reason we're here doing this training, to try and save some of that, okay? Do not take this thing and shove it in the dirt. It's just going to be a bad day for everybody. It's going to cause delays and whatnot. First off, on the tool, on the back is your settings. It will light up. Once we get these things set, do not change them, okay? We want to get one set up for this pin and one set up for your bomb. Your M12 is going to be a lower setting than your bomb, okay? Usually we start the M12, which is this one, at about 450 on the display. That's where I like to start. We're going to try and fine tune it a little bit today. And then on your bomb tail, we usually start that between 625 and 650. Okay? In order to get a full swage. If you don't get a full swage, we gotta have issues, right? So on this, I don't know if you can see that, there's little dimples right here on this collar. One of these dimples has to be crushed in order to be a full swage. Okay? If all of them are crushed, you're golden. If you get one, it's still good. Still considered as a full switch. The NexTracker guy should not yell at you, okay, or say you got to cut it off and get rid of it. Okay. The little ones don't have that. They just, you got to make sure they're fully swaged. You got to visually check them. Okay. Everything screws down and you get it somewhat tight, right? So this will be sitting there. This will be sitting there. You'll put it on your pin. This is just for simulation, right? And it'll be on your thing like that, out on your pile, and your BHA will be sitting on it, okay? It is very easy to overlook. QC can overlook this, even yourselves. I've done it before too. To walk by this and you grab the BHA and you're like, it's tight. But it's not swaged, because all these being snug is gonna make it tight. But this is gonna change color when it's swaged, okay? It's gonna go from a black to like a shiny silver black, okay? And you have to just check it. It's kind of really on the operator to make sure it's doing its job, right? You want that operator to make sure he's going through everyone, that's doing a full swage. It's not trying to rip this off. If you start ripping this off in half swages, now we have nothing to grab onto to try and go back and swage it again, okay? So, one of you will hold that for me. Don't worry, I will not bite, I promise, okay? So we're gonna put it on there just like that. You're gonna get it as straight as you can, okay? Right now we're set at 450. This thing is gonna hit and it's gonna go down, and about halfway it's gonna go slow, okay? And that's what you want. You don't want to go wham and hit it, because then it's just gonna try and rip the head off the pin, okay? You want it to get halfway and then it's gonna crawl down to the end. Now when I do this, I am not gonna let go of this trigger, okay? The goal is for it to bottom out, and I'm still holding the trigger, and it's going to back off. Okay? You don't want to let go of the trigger, because if you do, now it's going to back off, and you're like, dang it, it didn't go all the way down. Right? We want to make sure we go all the way down, okay? So we're going to start at 450 on this one. Perfect. Full swage. See how it changed the color? See how all the dimples are crushed? Perfect, done. Will not come off, okay? So at 450, this one is set. Now for whoever's maintaining them, I would always put if you have a label maker or something, put a little sticky on here that says set at 450 M12, okay? Because your bomb tail is going to be a different setting. Now if you start using bomb tail settings on an M12, it's just going to start ripping, right? You don't want that. So we'll do the same thing. You'll just hold it like that. We're going to bump this up. And just so you guys know, in order to change this setting, you hold this down. See how it's flashing in there? Okay, so we held this one down until it starts flashing. This one's going to change that number. Alright. So that's going to be 0. This is going to change it over to your tenths, and this is going to change it to your hundredths. In order to save it, you just hold it down again, and it does it. So if you have guys out there that you don't want them to mess with this, okay, if you hold both of these buttons, it locks it out, okay? Now, it's easy to figure out, but if you got a guy out there you think is like, we don't want him really messing with things, just leave it alone. You know, just lock it out and you can't touch it, okay? Alright, so now we're at 650 on this. Let's try it and see what it does. So this is going to mushroom on the back, right? We want the anvil to bottom out on the washer, or the plate, or the tube. That's what it wants to do. So just so you guys know, don't ever take this in there like that and pull the trigger with nothing on it, because it will take this thing and suck it all the way down in here. You'll never get it out. Now you got to buy a new nose, $1,900. Your PM or your soup's gonna be really pissed off. Okay? So we're set at 650. See how we do. Still a finger on the trigger, never let go. Perfect. That's what you want. Leaves the tail. It bottomed out, it's crushed on the bottom. Okay? So that's a good switch. So 650 is the magic, 650 and 450 is the magic number for this tool specific. Not every tool is going to be the same. There is going to be some variances, okay? If you get issues where it's like, oh, it's just not fully swaging, jump in 10s and 20s, okay? Don't do hundreds, because it's too much, right? Now if this starts popping, say this is already popping, you're like, man, it's doing, why is it popping? I haven't changed anything. It's only like halfway and then it's ripping it off. The chances are that jaw is probably toast. You can't tell from the naked eye. I've been doing this 6 years now. Still can't tell. It just won't grab it, it'll slip, okay? At that point, bring it back to you, or you, hey, we need a new puller, but you got to make sure your guys in the field are telling you what's going on. If you don't know, now you're just wasting a bunch of time trying to figure it out. They got to tell you, hey, we did this is what it's doing, so we can figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, call me, I'll help you figure out the problem, okay? Change the puller is going to be the fastest, easiest fix to see if that's what you want, okay? Same with this. You don't want any noise out there going pa-ting, pa-ting. If you start hearing that, you need to go find that guy and adjust that tool. Either adjust it or it needs a new jaw. Okay? This tool as well. If you don't have that on, it does not work. Okay? Now, as you can see, someone used this one as a hammer at some point. Oh, it's not right. I got a hammer. Ka-ting. It's a $10,000 hammer. Right? We don't want that, okay? But it will not work. It has a safety switch right here in order for it to work. It stays on tight, okay? Other than that, it's very simple. Cleaning, I would suggest daily. If you get a lot of popping, it won't be as bad. You know, now you're getting shavings ripped off, gunks up the jaw, whatnot. That's going to take time. These just unlock from each other. You can unscrew this, slide it off. I'll show you guys how to do it as well. And then there's a sleeve in here and a cap. Change the puller, you stick it back on, off you go. Okay? These have steps in them, so you don't have to make any adjustments to this. The step is to stop the pin from going too far into the nose. That's what you want. That's a new design by them because people were going too far and locking it on there, and now you got a tool hanging off the pile, you know. Cut it off, bring it back to the shop, all that fun stuff. Other than that, that is the most part for this tool. It comes with a cape, a sling, a handle. Every guy's different, you know, however you guys want to use them. Just, by far, don't put them in the dirt, okay? If you open this up and you look in here and you start seeing shavings, I mean, somebody's got it too high or something's going on. We need to just keep it clean. WD-40 and air are your best friends, okay? I wouldn't like douse it with WD-40, but WD-40 will help cleaning it a little easier as far as having that little bit of oil on there. No dirt will stick to it. You can wipe it right off. Brake clean as well. So when you do bombs or bomb tails, these destroy this handle. Okay. So me personally, I would suggest whatever guns are going to do these, make sure they stay doing those. Don't switch the noses, because at some point you can feel this and feel how smooth it is. It'll start to feel like a jagged fingernail in this, okay? When it swages, this will look rough, like a jagged, nasty fingernail. And when it starts doing that, this handle needs to be changed, okay? That's why I don't want you to really do these and these with the same nose. Let's wear out one of these first, and this way if it's less handles we gotta change, okay? If you start changing them on all of them, now all 80 of your guns, at some point halfway through your project, you're probably gonna need handles. I'd rather do half of that versus all of them, okay? All right, we're gonna move on to the module gun, okay? Big brother, little brother. Pretty much identical. Everything's the same for the most part. If you don't have the cap on, it won't work, okay? The digital display is the exact same. Everything works identical, right? We can pull this one off now. So daily, I would pull that off. You don't have to take all this off, undo all these nuts, right? Unless you gotta take this handle off, which you really shouldn't have to. But I would clean it, you know, get gummed up with stuff in there. On these, if these are set too high, this is just aluminum, so it's not very strong, right? It will start ripping those little tailings off. All those tailings will get in these cracks right here, okay? And if it's built up enough, now when you go to pull the trigger, it won't shut to grab the next pin, right? So I personally, until you guys get a good feel of how the guys are using them, I would check this every day. Just shoot it with a little bit of air, blow it out, okay? If this pin falls out, don't worry. I'm gonna tell you to get rid of it either way. Because when you get your new pin, or your new pullers in there, they ain't got no pins, get rid of them, okay? You don't need them. The only thing you need to take off on this, change it, pull this cap off, which these are Loctited on there, okay? Pull it off, slide the cap off, pull the puller out, put it back on, tighten it back up. You don't have to Loctite it back on. They just come from the factory Loctited. If this comes off, this black piece, so you have your piston, or your ball screw, you have your adapter, this is your other adapter, and then your cap. This inside has an Allen key to tighten it and loosen it, okay? This has wrench sides on it, so you can grab it. All of these should be Loctited on. I double checked all of them when I built this order, so I double check all of them. If it does come loose, just put a little bit of blue Loctite on it, tighten it back up real good, and let it do its thing. You don't really want it to come off. This really won't come off either. It doesn't need to be Loctite, just nice and tight. Everything just kind of nice and tight, okay? And then try and keep this greased. If you can put a little bit of lithium on this, it will help with this O-ring that's on here. And if there is any shavings, because these guys are going to be like this all day, upside down with these things, and all the shavings are just going to keep falling and falling and falling. If they get past that O-ring and they get into this, they get in the gearbox, they got bigger issues. Now we got to swap a tool, and now you're without a tool, right? So that's why I say if you just pull it off just like that, you're going to really see what's going on, blow it out, clean it, put it back together, okay? Same thing on the puller. You're not, if it starts slipping, you're not going to be able to tell by the eye. Just change the puller, do some tests, just like this. I would say go get some washers, have some of these in your tool room. This way you can sit there and do some tests with it before you send it back out in the field to the guys, okay? This doesn't need to be crazy tight, hand tight. There is wrench marks on it. I'm going to tell you right now, this thing is fragile. It's just cast aluminum, I think. But you go to putting a wrench on it, it breaks. This little piece is like $90-something, and it's gonna down the tool for something that you just need to hand tighten. Okay, doesn't need to be crazy tight. Starting point for these is 88. That's what the manufacturer suggests for this rivet itself. Okay, these do the same thing. They have a little. All these are going to be shaped on. There's a little lip in there for it to screw on. Where you want it. Like I said, the washers are just for simulation. Gripping. This is going to do the same thing that one did. It's going to go halfway down and then it's going to go slow. If you start, some of these people, I'd say people, some customers, they like to run this thing up. I've seen some of these things come back and sit at 900. I'm like, holy crap. And I wonder why you bought 200 jaws at $200 a piece for one project, you know? Gets a little pricey, gets expensive, right? Leave it slow and steady wins the race. You will have zero issues if you just let it do its thing, okay? So, like I said, when you guys get to the point that pin falls out, don't ever replace it. Just get rid of it, okay? So, in there, full swing. This one will not let go like that one. You have to let go of the trigger on this one, okay? So once you get to the bottom, you see it to the bottom, let it go, and it'll release. Okay? I wish it did the same thing as that one. You saw it crept down, so it even pushed, see how soft it is, it even pushed it down into the hole, which it won't do that on the, because the washer's a little bigger than what it's supposed to be. Let's see if we can try it. Let's see if we can get it just right. See, it's even a little high. At 88, it's still pulled it. See how I ripped that little piece off?
Very top part.
This is where you're gonna tune it?
No, si tenía que washar más chica.
Yeah, see? A little piece of it stuck in the threads.
Oh,
yeah. So this one's at 88, so we're gonna bump it down to 70.
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, do about 70. Yeah, like crawled. See, I'm still holding the trigger, so it's not gonna let go. That's what you want. This one's good.
So 78.
78 on this one. Like I said, they're not all gonna be the same. You're gonna have a little bit of fluctuation. Okay? But you see how I went from a dull to a bright and shiny?
Yeah.
It's done. I've seen sites where these guys have halfway swaged these, and then I get a phone call. They're like, "Hey man, all the panels are falling off." What do you mean? He's like, "They didn't swage them." What are you talking? Send me pictures. And this thing is halfway swaged. A little bit of wind, ting 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 ting. Now the panels fall off. Now you got a huge warranty issue, right?
Yeah.
So,
Can you see that one?
So once it's like that, simply the modules, that's already like having them torqued. Like we don't have to do anything after that.
That's the beauty of rivets. There's no torquing. Once it's swaged,
Once that's it.
it is done.
You can mark them.
You don't even have, I don't even think you have to mark them.
Well, no,
You don't
we don't have to mark them?
No, and that's kind of the part that really hurts to an extent because you can really you just gotta look at it. You don't actually have to physically check it.
Gotcha.
So that's where you can kind of get yourself in a little bit of trouble. So, I mean, obviously that's what he does, but just double check everything, right? And you have extra pullers for both. You probably won't need any extra parts besides the puller on this. Anvils very rarely go bad. This is going to be your mod clamp. So these, you're going to take off this screw, take it completely out. Some of them you got this piece right here just holds this down. It might help loosen this up. Just a turn. Okay. This is going to open up, so we're going to take this and twist it. Yeah, it's in the right spot. You see the hole? Right? This is your plus or minus tool. So, I mean, once you got to get this thing in the right spot, all right? Plus or minus on your torque, okay? Righty tighty, there's more torque. So like I was talking to you guys a little bit earlier, this is just like spinning the bottom handle on a regular torque wrench. Same thing, but now once it's set, the guys in the field can't magically adjust it by accident. Oh man, I was moving it around and it must drop down a pound or two. Can't do that. So the way I would do this, and this is the way most people in the industry are doing it, they'll say, you gotta do your conversion because this is Newton meters, right? So that line's gonna match up with that, whatever it is. What are we at, 22? Probably, give or take a little bit.
Yeah,
22. So you gotta do your conversion to foot pounds. It's 22 Newton meters and foot pounds is like 14, I wanted to say, or 15. So you probably have to bump it up a little bit. But I would just go out in the field just like this with them when you guys start to do this, and just leave it open, put the socket on there, run it, bring your torque wrench with you, and manually click it. And if you find that right, once you get this thing tuned into that spot, shut it up and set it. Put a sticker on here, 12 foot-pounds, 18 foot-pounds, whatever it may be, and it's good. You don't have to do anything with it after that. Nothing. Okay? I mean, if the anvil breaks or something like that, just call me. I can send you one or I can swap it. This thing comes right off. I wish they would have put a bigger wrench flat spot on it, but this thing just unscrews and the whole thing comes out and you put a whole new one in. So if it breaks and it just broke, just call me. I got them in my shelf in my office. I'll UPS you one next time. Okay? So once you get it set, close it back up. Now nobody can mess with it, okay? So the tool is a smart tool to an extent. If it feels it cannot achieve the torque that that the tool is set for, it won't do it. Okay? It'll say, I'm dead. It'll blink red. It'll go beep, beep, beep. Battery's dead. You'll check the battery. You'll be like, yep, it's dead. Let's go get a new battery and you can go right back to doing what you gotta do, okay? It won't leave you in the woods saying, yeah, I torqued this whole row at a lower value. It won't do that to you, okay? So, the other thing with these is a lot of the guys will use these as hammers. I cannot tell you how many batteries I have gotten back in this thing. It looks like a daggum bowl. I will just say whoever was doing it is very lucky. Because if you've ever seen one of these catch on fire, a lithium battery catch on fire, it's bad. It will burn you. And that guy, I promise you, if someone were to use this as a hammer and it did that, they would never do it again, ever. And they would be preaching to you like I am. Don't do it. Not that I did it, I promise you I didn't do it, but I've seen plenty of videos doing it. I've seen it happen on trailers where they burn a Connex. If someone had one that was hit, they left them on the charger overnight, it shorted out and caught the whole Connex on fire. Right? Don't do it. I would not suggest charging batteries overnight either. Just FYI. Charge them during the day and let it rip, okay? Every tool has 2 batteries, 14-4s, okay? Here's the other thing. Don't get these mixed up. 18 to 14-4. You're gonna be like, wow, I got turbo mod. You put the 18 on here. I don't know how long it's gonna last. I haven't tested it, but I know it runs a lot faster, okay? But try to make sure you put the 14.4s on these. And even, it's designated 14.4 on the bottom, right? So, but every other tool has 2 of these in its case. I'll have a strap, a handle, and a charger. And then you have 2 rapid bank chargers for these.
Okay.
So it'll do 2 batteries in 45 minutes from a completely dead state. So your guys should be able to keep rolling, no problem, right? Just so you know, technically they say you're supposed to get 400 to 500 swages of M12 out of 1 battery. You can charge on these chargers, and there's a 4-person bank charger in there for these. You can, it'll do all of them, 14.4s, 18s, it doesn't matter, just stick it on there and charge. If you got to change the jaw, you pull this off, slip the new one back on, okay? So this little ball is designed to set into these grooves right here, okay? So have you ever taken the nose off a regular bomb gun?
Not the regular.
No, it's kind of the same way, that's what I was asking. It has this ball on it. This will roll on there, right? Use your wrench. I usually like to put a little bit of lithium on this, just because sometimes this ball will get a little tight. WD will work too, you know. But every day, blow this out. Luckily for you, these are hollow, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, so they go through, but now them shavings can work their way into this, and work their way down into here. You can, if you need to, I would say once a week, or maybe even every other week. If you have a vise, I take this and stick it in the vise and loosen it, and use the tool to loosen it, because it's on there pretty snug. It's not Loctite or anything, but it's on there snug. And then here, there's an O-ring just like this one had on it to help try and keep that trash from falling down into that gearbox. Okay. So once you clean this and you go to put it back together, you're going to run this all the way down until it bottoms out on that piston. Okay. So it's all the way down right now. This ball is sticking out. It's not in one of them spots. So we're going to loosen it to the first spot that it drops in. So if someone puts their finger on there and rolls it, so if it's stuck out like that, right? You can't get this on.
It has to be in the hole.
Yep.
And then,
This is designed to hold this down so that it doesn't back off, right? So tighten this all the way down, just hand tight, just get to the bottom and then back it to the first spot, okay? There it is right there. So if you do get a bunch of dirt and gunk in there, this thing won't come out, right? I found a trick. Then grab you a pair of channel locks and just kind of wiggle it out and let the tool try to help push it out, right? That make sense? Once you get that on, now this can't spin. That's what you want. And then if you're going to put this on, I suggest either have gloves on to put this on, because I can't tell you how many times I have pinched my finger right there. I like to just take it and give it a ball. Okay? Spread it back down. You can run it all the way down, but I don't. Like, I like to see this thing kind of start to touch it a little bit, right? I just make sure that goes in there, and then lock it back up to itself. And this doesn't have to be crazy tight, just snug, okay? Because you gotta take it off every day. You don't want to break any more knuckles. That's the gist of that, okay? Very simple, very easy. Not like a hydraulic gun. All WD-40, lithium, and propane. That's fine, okay? What's that?
And air.
And air, yep, and air. Other than that, that's the simplest cleaning of the nose. So you got that one how to clean it, this one how to clean it. If we have to send you a cut nose, it goes on the same way. okay? This body's different, and the jaw and everything's different, but it goes on the same way, okay? And on those, you would just bump the number up, like 700.